Hey guys, it's West here, back with another episode of the Account Improvement Series. This is part 3 of SMStarryNite's account, and in the background here we have the Giants B10 team I've been working on running in full effect. So we have the Hellia, the Dark Harpy, 6-starred, and currently runed on the runes that Veramos was previously runed on. And I'm just doing a few runs here so you guys can get an idea of some of the changes that I've made. There have been a few other changes to the account, minor improvements to damage on the damage dealers and speed on other units. So I've been making improvements along the way, getting better runes. Also, I've been trying to work on skilling up Hellia all the way. Hellia is still missing a few skill ups, which does affect the consistency a little bit. However, I think we get the right gist of the team. So one of the big things that I've been playing around with, and one of the things that really brings consistency to any form of speed team when it has to do with giants or even dragons, but especially in giants, is attack bar reduction on the enemies, particularly the boss. So the reason I have Lupinus in this team is to effectively, fully reduce the giant's attack bar to nothing, as that basically gives the team an extra turn to do all the stuff they have to do, an extra turn to put out all of that damage. And so what I've noticed with having Hellia in here is we lose a potential slot for an AoE damage dealer or an AoE stunner, in which case before it was previously Veramos, which allowed us to essentially have a little bit more survivability in the waves. And so having Lupinus as an alternate AoE that is on Despair gives us the opportunity to potentially do the same thing, and as often as RNG fails us, the Wind Magic Knight should hypothetically help us. But I haven't experimented enough with this team. I've done maybe 50 to 100 runs with it, which sounds like a lot, but really isn't when it comes to a test size, especially in a game like Summoners where stuff like that can happen. But having attack bar reduction is huge for this team, as it gives it a lot of extra survivability, and it gives Lucian or Tashar an extra rotation. And sometimes when they use their first skill or second skill rather than using their third skill, or if there's not a defense break on the boss yet and their skill hits like a wet noodle, then having that attack bar reduction gives us the opportunity to really get the damage that we're trying to get off. So that's what we've been trying to achieve with this team. Ideally, the Lupinus slot would be filled by a monster like Hua. Hua's attack bar reduction is more consistent since it's passive based, and every attack Hua does reduces attack bar. So best case scenario would be having a Hua on this account and using that Hua to reduce attack bar and effectively deal more damage. Also, Hua has usability in other areas, which would make this team even better. However, just using the units that we have now, I kind of like Lupinus as well. She's the max HP based damage, which helps on the boss stage. She has the slow on the first skill, which of course reduces the speed at which the giant can obtain that attack bar, and then the third skill, which reduces the attack bar. Even if Lupinus dies, it doesn't matter, as long as she either gets her slow off or her attack bar reduction with her third skill off. Not to mention the damage output she could do is around 36 to 40,000 damage on crit, so that's pretty nice to see. I'll go ahead and show the runes here. Here's the Tashar on Fatal Blade. The speed is still a concern of mine. I would like Tashar to be like plus 80, plus 90 speed ideally, but I didn't want to sacrifice too much damage, so I kind of min-maxed Tashar in terms of speed, and then after achieving more than 141 speed, I put everything that I possibly could into attack, crit rank, crit damage. Of course, trying to hit 85% crit rate is big on these units. Here's the Lucian. I'm still not quite happy with Lucian. In terms of being usable in Giants, it's okay. It still needs 8% more crit rate, which can be reasonably obtained, since there's some of these runes that have 0 crit rate on them, or the slot 4 has no crit rate, and the slot 6 has inbuilt 4%, which is basically nothing. So I still have quite a few rune slots that can, really see big improvements. Another thing is, in terms of arena, you do want to see Lucian around 180, 190 speed, so having only plus 48 speed is not ideal in terms of the Lucian speed for arena. And next we have the Lupinus. Lupinus is another unit which I would like to be faster, ideally. However, However, these were the runes that we were able to get on Despair Blade. Now the crit rate is ideal, the crit damage is ideal, the speed is a little bit slow, but the accuracy is another thing we would like to improve. Of course, you want to hit that 45% cap so you have the maximum chance of reducing the attack bar and landing the slow, as well as landing the silence, because the silence does, on the boss stage, prevent the boss from using a second skill, which is the massive critical hit, which on a defense break is going to do around 70,000 damage to your team. So, I mean, I guess you could reduce the potential damage of the giant by also having the silence skill as well. So it does play a little bit into account with that. Here's the Hellia runes, the runes that are probably most important in terms of quality, because you do want this Hellia to constantly land her defense break. You do want her to be fast enough to go, right after Galleon ideally, and you do want her to have enough accuracy to land those debuffs as well. So I have her on 46% accuracy. Ideally, we'd have her even higher. The higher the accuracy, the better, because at the mid-boss stage, the mid-boss essentially has 110% resistance. He has extra resistance because of his passive. The Water Golem have built-in resistance, so after 100, the resistance actually goes up, I believe, in the accuracy resistance check. But you can get up to, effectively 90-95% accuracy, and it's not terrible. I mean, more accuracy the better on the Dark Harpy for the mid-boss in particular. However, for the boss stage and the waves, she's got enough accuracy in order to land her stuff with the maximum amount of consistency. As you can see here, we have 2 skill ups on the second and third skill, and 3 skill ups on the first skill. So 70% harmful effect rate on the first skill is actually pretty huge, so we really need to get these skill ups within the next few days, and we will when the either when the fire day comes back around, so tomorrow, or if I decide to, go through the cringy process of farming Kabir runes for some, which I might do as well, because I'm really anxious to get these skill ups. So that's what we've been doing in terms of giants. You can see we didn't even touch the Hall of Heroes. Today I'm going to be grinding the Hall of Heroes. I promised her I'm going to get at least to B6. I'm going to get her at least 3 Coronas. If we can go higher, I will. She does have a Varad, which does help that situation out a little bit. You can see I've kind of been neglecting Arena a little bit just because I've been so focused on improving Giants, but her Arena team is still as such. For a faster team, we have the Orochi speed lead, and that 30% speed lead from Orochi helps Bernard get faster. He's essentially a 300 speed Bernard because he's 267 with his runes, and then she has a speed tower, but she's it's essentially more than a 300 speed Bernard. So I have Orochi for that speed lead just for that slot alone. Ideally, Orochi would be on some Swiftblade runes. Right now, I don't have runes that are good enough for Orochi to really justify doing all that. So I don't have Orochi on any runes yet. I don't want to put him on mediocre runes just to have runes, as I don't feel like there's any purpose in doing that. So I have yet to do that. But I guess I'll go through and I'll talk about some of her other offenses that I've made. I made this offense as well. I'm a big fan of having a Bernard, some sort of buffer, having your nuker, and then having a utility monster. Having this Varad in this team not only means you have the extra elemental advantage, because any monster that Tashar wouldn't really harm, because Tashar's a wind monster, Varad could harm. Because if there's a monster Tashar would glance against, it would be a fire monster in most cases, and anybody who is fire and wouldn't be affected as much by Tashar's nuke could be taken down or at least reset by Varad optimally. Of course, there's things like will runes, all sorts of different types of immunity buffers as well that could prevent Varad from doing this, but in a lot of cases around this rank, this team is going to be able to do a lot. Now, if there's a team you just need raw speed against, then having the Orochi Bernard Megan Lucian comp will work, although that, I mean, in most scenarios you're not going to need it, because in most cases, if you really need to outspeed them and they're faster than you, or they have immunity and they're built on a tanky build, that one Lucian isn't going to be enough damage. So it's really unique situations that that team is built for. So more than anything, it's either going to be this team or it's going to be the Bernard, Megan, Lucian, Tashar team that is going to be the primary arena offense that we have set up there. Just because the double wind nukers will take out most things. Anything Lucian doesn't kill, Tashar will clean up, or vice versa. The turn order, I believe, is actually Lucian before, or Tashar before Lucian, I believe. I believe it's pretty close in terms of speed. especially with the Bernard's speed buff. I think they get pretty close. But we'll go ahead and check that out in one moment after we finish clearing these rivals. I just kind of want to show just this general concept. This is like kind of my go-to concept when it comes to building an arena offense. I like bringing a nuker and a utility monster, especially a unit like Varad, since you can do some unique stuff. And you can see Varad does a fair bit of damage, although these are the rivals and not actual PvP opponents. And I want to talk about that a little bit. So another expressed concern that she had was not having the runes for all her supports, because she has some, well, really good TOA monsters that would be on, support-ish runes or speed HP defense with accuracy substat types of runes, as well as things like raid, as well as just having units in general for PvP that are support, because she likes to play around in Guild Wars and she likes to screw around in RTA as well. So having those runes, having violent runes, having swift runes for those monsters was something she expressed concern for. And since her Varad was kind of hogging her best swift runes, after consulting her, we together decided to take the support-ish runes off of Varad and go for more of some of the damage runes that she had, like some defense primary stat with crit rate, crit damage, subs, and speed, just because that way she could get away with runing up some of her other monsters that she wanted to use. Now, it hasn't really hampered Varad's speed or his ability to do what Varad does. However, it has taken away from his tankiness, but in turn, he has a little bit more damage. He's more built like an alpha Varad with some crit rate, crit damage subs, and some defense in the major stats. So you can see right here, plus 1400 defense, built on speed, defense. Now these are not ideal runes, and the crit rate and crit damage could be better, and the defense could be better. However, it still has 60 accuracy. It's still plus 110 speed. If anything, I think we gained 6 speed by switching over to this damage build. And it's still usable in TOA. Now, in terms of climbing TOA hard, I don't think Varad's going to take too many hits, since Varad is Varad, and most of the time in TOA you're resetting them with your absolute 0, so I don't think that's going to be too much of an issue. And she doesn't really use Varad for a serious arena defense, just for more of like a scary, slow you down kind of arena defense, so that's probably the only other concern I would have. So here's her TOA hard team, something I've been working on as well, and I think they're all runed to what they need to be. You could see Manchura, he's on a speed HP or speed HP accuracy build, and we have Mav and Varad as well. Now this team will probably work for most stages up to TOA hard 70, I believe. But occasionally we may need to switch out a unit for Chasoon or for something else. But for the most part, I'm going to go ahead and show this team. And her arena team is pretty set. She has like all the core Nat 3s, all the core light dark Nat 3s for TOA hard. And yeah, I think she's set when it comes to TOA, just in terms of units. And I think a lot of times in terms of like TOA progression, when there's people who have trouble with things, the thing they have trouble with is finding the units that have the unique mechanics that are good for TOA hard, not as much the runes, because in a lot of cases I have found, at least in my experiences, that although runes are really important, having the specific units for TOA hard and in particular is really important, especially for some of those unique stages. But I mean, you could see we have, triple daughters, we have the Mav, we have the attack bar reset from Varad. I mean, this is overall just a really solid team, and even at 5-star with 3 of the units, I think it's going to be just fine. Having Thrain on Violent, I think, is really awesome, because she could afford to do so. I think we could auto through a lot of these stages, although at the same time, I don't want it to take forever. I'm just trying to, show what the team does. For the most part, everything is going to constantly be CC'd down as well, because we have 2 Despair units being Manchura and Beretta, also the 2 daughters, and Manchura has the 2 AoEs and he's on Despair, so he has a pretty high chance of landing stuns. We've got the Varad's AoEs. He's got 2 AoEs that both freeze, and then his 3rd skill completely resets their attack bar, and we're pretty much covered against every single element. So the Thrain takes care of anything that the Varad or the Beretta doesn't, with his Doomsday skill, his 3rd skill. So we should never have an issue with stunning things unless the RNG really isn't in our favor. So I'm not really concerned with that. And I think we're set. I think we're set in terms of TOA hard. I think TOA hard is going to be like a breeze on her account because, Varad being the proclaimed king of TOA in terms of being able to take it down. And having these extra daughters, I mean, there's no real concern. She also has the homunculus as well, something I've talked about previously, although I don't think making a water homunculus is absolutely necessary on this account. I think water homunculus always helps just having one. As well as for some other content in the game. But the water homunculus could also be slotted into this team, I guess, in place of Mav, even though as much as I wouldn't want to take out Mav because Mav is so great. I guess there's some stages where you could take out Mav for the water homunculus, or you could take out Beretta for the water homunculus, since the water homunculus also has attack bar reduction and the dots, so you don't have to worry as much about that. I wouldn't take out Varad for the water homie just because Varad is so good. Also, between Thrain, Beretta, and Minshur you're already going to be stacking up 10 debuffs after Varad hits. So there's a point of diminishing return when it comes to the amount of daughters in your team. However, there's not a point of diminishing return really with CC as long as you're not completely devoid of any sort of damage. So I mean, you have to find the right balance in a TOA team. And I think this TOA team doesn't really require a water homunculus to be great. I think this team is going to be fine. And I think the only improvements to this is just going to be getting better runes for the units. But even that, I mean, it seems like everything's good. Once you get all your supports to around 200 speed, TOA hard isn't too hard. So that's about it. Other units I did express interest in building, and she did as well, were Chloe, Trisoon. I think Trisoon is fine where she is right now. We talked about the damage dealer Miang, and I think that's just going to be increased, better runes, and that's about it. So the next 6-star for this account is still something we have been debating, but we'll see based on what we want to work on next. So in the next few days, in this coming week, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be skilling up the Hellia to the max, so that we get the maximum harmful effect rate and the maximum cooldown reduction on these skills, so that they could have the maximum uptime and constantly have that defense break on the boss and be landing that. So that's something I'm going to be working on. We're going to be, of course, always looking for rune upgrades, and we're going to farm through all of the remaining crystals. And like I said, we're going to try to get to TOA hard 70. Now that's what we're going to do on this account, and that's about it. If you guys have any questions or comments, or you're interested in being in the account improvement series next, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hey guys, it's West again. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more.